and welcome to The Natural View. I'm Maggie Jacqua here with my co-host Todd Pauley. Hey, Todd.
Hi, Maggie.
Good to see you. We're also joined by a special guest from Balchem, Lauren Eisen. She is Senior Marketing and Business Development Manager. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you. I should say welcome back because we recently did an episode of The Natural View, and Lauren joined us to talk about key findings and innovation in the women's health market. We really dove into the prenatal nutrition space. So encourage anybody who didn't see that to check that out. And today we're going to expand the conversation to explore the benefits of folate for prenatal nutrition and beyond. So let's dive in. Let's start with just kind of talking about folate in general. It's often associated with pregnancy, but you're here raising awareness about benefits beyond baby brain, all the way to lifelong cognition. So set the stage for us. How should we be rethinking folate's role across lifespan?
We can absolutely rethink folate's role, and the key message is that its benefits extend far beyond infancy. Folate, or commonly known as vitamin B9, is foundational for fetal development, but it's also essential for lifelong cognitive health. During pregnancy, supplementing with adequate folate is known for supplementing for, neural tube formation or reducing the risk for birth defects and supporting healthy fetal development of the baby. So the reason it's critical is that it's essential for that structural level for synthesis, DNA, RNA, neurotransmitters, and hormones. And these are also the essential building blocks for the brain during every stage of life. And this is where those benefits become really relevant across the entire lifespan. So folate provides methyl groups for DNA methylation. And this is that vital process that regulates gene expression, supports healthy homocysteine metabolism, and is crucial for that overall brain health. So when we have balanced methylation, it supports cognitive health throughout life, not just early development. So when we talk about aging adults and cognitive function, we're also talking about maintaining that healthy methylation process.
That's excellent. And, I'm so glad we're talking about folate beyond its maybe traditional use as people think about it. And you mentioned cognitive health in that same segment, and that's such a hot topic too. So I think there's a lot of things coming together that's really positive for folate. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about some of those individual demographics that we might not have thought about so much in the past, but you brought up a couple, like expectant mothers and aging adults. Can you get into that and some of those demographics a little bit more?
Sure. I think we can easily bucket some of those demographics or groups. I'd say some of those key ones we want to focus on are, just as you said, expectant mothers. We can't forget about aging adults. Those, of course, with nutritional deficiencies, we're often talking about those like on a diet or GLP-1s. And then, of course, those with the genetic SNPs or MTHFR variants. So those were the groups I'd bucket them in.
Let's dive a little deeper into each. Can you talk us through each of those four groups and the needs that they have?
Yeah. So let's think first about, like I said, expectant mothers. So this group has a need that's very well established. Expectant mothers rely on those nutrients for folate for the healthy fetal development of babies, which includes the neural tube defects and supporting babies' brain development. Let's not forget that formulations that also include choline can further boost the benefits for mother and for baby. The second one I mentioned was at the other end of the spectrum was aging populations via baby and then through aging populations. And it may seem obvious, but as we age, maintaining cognitive function becomes increasingly important, and older adults benefit from folate in maintaining cognitive health and potentially even slowing that cellular aging or epigenetic age. The third one I mentioned was nutritional deficiency. So this group is really easy to overlook when we think about supplements. It seems obvious, right? Nutritional deficiency, that's a gap we're trying to fill, but people with poor dietary intake or absorption issues may simply be not getting enough. And bioactive folate is something that we need to be paying attention to. And this unintentionally increases their risk for cognitive decline and other health issues. So for this group, high quality, readily absorbed supplements is a must to fill that nutritional gap. And the last one I would say what we're really focused on is that MTHFR genetic variant. We want to think talking about genetics. So this is kind of a new area, but this is where the form of supplement becomes really critical. So up to 40% of the population carries that MTHFR gene variant. And this variant reduces the body's ability to convert standard folic acid into that bioactive L5-MTHF form. And for these individuals, traditional folic acid supplements are generally less effective. And unmetabolized folic acid can accumulate in the bloodstream, potentially causing health risks. So products like Balchem's Optifolin Plus are so important. It provides folate as that L5-MTHF or bioactive form and ensures effective absorption and methylation support for everyone, including those with that genetic variant, by bypassing genetic bottlenecks.
Wow. So those are some really great benefits. And so I'm wondering, what's the awareness gap among some of these individual groups? And what can brands do? What can the industry do in general to help close that gap?
Yeah, loaded question. But I think the awareness gap is actually quite significant, and it's really in two areas. So the first gap is kind of a perceptual one. Everyone knows that folate is really critical during pregnancy. That's where we spoke about the first time, but the awareness kind of drops off really sharply after that. People don't connect that lifelong cognitive health or supporting cellular health as we age. Millions of aging individuals are missing out on this fundamental nutrient because that conversation's been really narrowly focused. So for this group, the industry can start to shift that conversation from that singular focus on prenatal and then start to really think about maybe active aging or even cognitive performance. And then the second thing I would really say is really to focus on that science gap. So most consumers don't realize that not all folates are created equal, right? They don't know that folic acid is even different and they're still using vitamin B9 interchangeably because of what they see on the label. And this means that people are just not getting enough out of the supplement and not getting the full benefit, even if they're buying a premium product. So when we ask what is the natural products industry, what can they do? I think there's a really powerful role that they can play through education, transparency, innovation, in providing that clarity and a better solution. So brands can play maybe a more clear and direct role in giving education around the difference between folic acid and that bioactive form of L5-MTHF and normalizing the conversation around bioavailability and ensuring that consumers understand that the form matters and that effective absorption and methylation support is really important. So if we can actively market L5-MTHF in different categories for supplements, that means that we can maybe create products and messaging for all stages. Think like past just prenatal, like postpartum moms and active aging populations. They might want mood and focus, for example. And then brands can communicate responsibly about those genetic differences. Like the key is to position the bioactive form and not just as a specialized genetic product, but maybe as the smarter or universally effective folate to ensure that healthy methylation for everyone, whether you have that variant or without it, and bypassing those known genetic bottlenecks. So essentially, I think we're at a point that consumers are ready to be able to adopt the importance of moving from a basic or inactive form of folic acid to an advanced or bioactive form of L5-MTHF for a more reliable cognitive health across all stages of life.
Yeah, it's such a shame, if people who they start to do something beneficial for their health, they're buying the supplement, they're taking the supplement, and if they're taking the form, that's not going to give them the benefits.
Right.
It's so terrible. So you're here, you're educating on it. So we're letting the natural products industry know. You talked about the awareness gap in terms of people knowing their needs. How do you see the gap now in terms of, I know you said consumers want it. Are practitioners, are they aware? Where does the education, really need to happen beyond the industry?
Yeah, I think, not all folates are created equal, and there's a lot of differentiation that needs to happen, and that's in the form of education. And so that comes with understanding those critical differences between absorption, bioavailability, methylation. And this really does come down to how, not just from a supplier level, but from brands that they are going to help educate and promote at the consumer level. Just as you said, educating healthcare practitioners. So they have to start to believe in the products, and then have that education on the differences between folic acid and L5 MTHF as well, and start to really help the consumer make that difference in education. So it's not just, it's not just at the supplier level, but it's at the brand level as well. So it takes everyone together in a collaborative state for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's zero in a little bit on Balchem's own Optifolin Plus. Can you talk about that ingredient specifically and what sets it apart?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a little bit on methylation first. Folate's main function is to support methylation, which is essential for gene expression, homocysteine metabolism, and brain health. And that conversion bottleneck with folic acid means that the delivery of those essential group methyl groups can be inconsistent, and the more methyl groups you can supply, the more you're effectively fueling those critical processes. So, for example, in growing kids, the time of rapid brain development requires the constant methylation, right? So, if you can provide that differentiation, it's really important. And so, Optifolin Plus provides the folate in the form of a bioactive L5 MTHF, and it's choline enriched. So, when we look at the benefits of Optifolin Plus specifically, the difference is really clear. It's 2 times more bioavailable than folic acid and absorbed 3 times faster. And it avoids that buildup of unmetabolized folic acid that we spoke about, which is a good safety point. And then more powerfully, it delivers 7 times more methyl groups than other leading folates. So the enhanced delivery ensures that balanced methylation and healthy homocysteine metabolism, which is crucial for brain health and that epigenetic regulation. So essentially, Optifolin Plus with that 7 times methyl advantage is the direct route of L5 MTHF, ensuring that everyone, regardless of their genetics, gets the full cognitive benefits through maintaining that homocysteine level through all those different stages that we talked about.
All right, so we discussed earlier on this talk, and also in our earlier episode of the Natural View, we're talking about the genetic variants, and really, Balcom's doing a great job of increasing that in the wellness conversation. So if you could just give us kind of help drive it home on how brands should communicate about genetic differences without oversimplifying the science, because the science is pretty complex, but we want to get it on that way where we're not overpromising, we're not oversimplifying. Like, what's some good messaging that can help here on the education side?
Sure, what a great question. So, first and foremost, I think the messaging should focus on that universal benefit of the bioactive form. While personalized nutrition is becoming more popular, I think outright encouraging that widespread genetic testing would be overly complicated. So, instead, just offering that L5 MTHF as that smarter, more effective solution that works for everyone and ensures effective absorption regardless of your genetic makeup is a kind of a really simple way to go. That's kind of where you were going with, like, how can the healthcare practitioners really just come in and give that good recommendation? So as we discussed, like the MTHR variant, we know up to 40% of the population has it, but we're just simply explaining why the old form of folic acid can create a metabolic roadblock for so many people. So we need to clearly state that, why that variant reduces the body's ability to convert folic acid. Why take the longer congested road when a direct fast highway is available, right? You think you can put it in these kind of easy terms for consumers. So that ties into that second point of safety about not addressing, how we can not have the risk of that potential health situation with the accumulation of unmetabolized folic acid. And we have a solution. So it's the brand's role to show the leadership by offering that transparency and innovation. We're simply explaining the science that we've moved past the standard and have an advanced bioactive choline enriched folate that has also the mechanism of healthy methylation for supporting cognitive health. And brands can leverage that growing interest in genetics to educate consumers without making those promises that overstep the science.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Lauren, yeah, let's wrap up with a little prediction session here. So,
Always.
ready? Crystal balls out.
Yeah.
We've talked about the importance of methylfolate beyond prenatal supplements. You've also mentioned cognition and you've mentioned active nutrition in this conversation too. So, given all of that and kind of where we see the industry going from those standpoints, what's the next 3 to 5 years look like in terms of untapped opportunities for methylfolate in some of those key categories?
Oof, with my crystal ball, I'd say, while we're able to capture the science around baby's brain and genetic potential, the shift here is also from that slowing decline in anti-aging, I think, to proactive cellular health as an emerging, high interest segment. I think the conversation is going to definitely move beyond just the homocysteine metabolism to the science of epigenetic aging and cognitive health. Methylfolate's role as a key supplier of methyl groups, we mentioned, is crucial for DNA methylation, but it's also strongly associated with maintaining cellular health and optimizing the integrity for genetic material. And brands can certainly create the messaging around supporting lower epigenetic age. So I think, consumers want to see ingredients that offer these dual and triple benefits. So formulations that can combine with something like Optifolin Plus and choline and magnesium bisglycinate for that, like stress management, for example, mood regulation, enhanced absorption, that can carry us into active nutrition, working professionals, students. And then, of course, with the enhanced stability and solubility, that lends itself for those convenient, customer friendly formats like sachets, stick packs, and combination capsules, bringing us into the novel supplement space. That's another key one, so that we're shifting from the single function ingredients into like foundational ingredients for cellular health and cognitive performance for that entire lifespan that we talked about to get the full benefits of 7 times methylation. So it's definitely a growing area that I see that we can capture.
Yeah, I love it. So much opportunity there. And like you're saying, we're seeing so much on the multitaskers, the convenient formats. So it really does deliver on all those fronts.
Yeah.
People can really innovate. So good things to come. And I know you will keep us posted on any emerging research, new findings, and we'll always help spread the word on those. So thank you for joining us again to get us up to date on all the latest.
Thank you so much. This was really fun.